Wow. Aren't we blessed to have such an amazing family of musicians here with us today? And an amazing group of people gathered in this beautiful chapel. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. My name is Reverend Sally Hamlin. I'm a retired, yay, UU minister, happily retired, and I joined this congregation almost a year ago. Finding my way around Buffalo after retirement, I needed to find a place that would suit my spiritual and social justice longings, and also still find a place to serve. My ministry has enriched my life in so many ways, but this, being in this place with all of you, has enriched my life in a way that continues to unfold into my retirement, and I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. For those of you gathered in the chapel, want to say your words now, or wait a minute, you're standing, okay. For those of you gathered here in this room in the chapel, I urge you to turn your phone off, please, completely, to free up the web bandwidth for the live stream. We have folks joining us online, and our Wi-Fi is wobbly. We want to make sure that the online community has the full experience as possible. And if you need some extra hearing support, we have assisted hearing devices at the usher's station in the back of the chapel. Feel free to borrow one for the service.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all of us to live into the fullness of our identities, are she and her. It is kind of fun for me to be a sidekick today, so I will be popping up and down. We are in for a really amazing service. I am so glad that you have made this a priority this week, so stay tuned.
If you're a newcomer here today, I hope your experience thus far has been a warm and loving welcome. We're glad that you've chosen to spend this morning with us here at UU Amherst. I don't know what brings you here, well, some of you I do, but please know that whatever or whomever invited you to be here today, we are so pleased you said yes. For those of you in person, and online, I want you to know that every bit of this service has been carefully crafted to create a cohesive experience we call worship. Worship comes from the Old English, worthship. And today we come to worship, to pay attention to lift up that which we hold in high regard. As Unitarian Universalists, people who place a high value on pluralism, that means we don't all have to agree on the what we are worshiping or holding in high regard. But generally, we hold our values in high regard, and our worship is meant to remind us of these and how we can live them to create more joy and justice in the world and in our own lives. In addition to pluralism and justice, we place a high value on interdependence, generosity, equity, and transformation, with love at the center of all we do. This time of worship is an opportunity to remind ourselves of all of that and to fill our spiritual cups. I call us to worship with an invitation to join the journey by Reverend Lynn Cox. Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. This path will ask much of us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing We are not alone. Whomever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey. Our gathering music today is a hymn I'm hoping most of you are familiar with, but if not, the Teal Hymnal number 1023, Building Bridges, and Reverend Michelle happily will be leading us in song. So the words are also on our screens to either side.
So few words, so many opportunities for singing it as a round. That was such a joyful sound that I just heard right there at the great news that we were going to sing as a round. So we'll sing it all together 2 times, and then we'll just sing it in groups of 2. And if any of our strong singers want to come up and help me so I'm not doing both sides and doing a dance, that would be great too. We'll need some kind of note. Here we go. And building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Group 1, building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Yay. Our land acknowledgement today will be a little different as we engaged in a shared reading penned by Joy Harjo, the 23rd U.S. Poet Laureate and member of the Muscogee Nation. After each statement, please respond with the words, "We are Earth," after which Alexis and Max, are you here? Come on forward, please. Welcome, Max and Alexis, new members of our congregation. So glad you're here. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, all who have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. We are Earth. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. We are Earth. Remember, all is in motion, is growing in you. We are Earth. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is. That life is. Remember, we are Earth. We offer a libation, water, as sacred as the land it is meant to bless. May we transform sorrow into gratitude, and gratitude into action as we seek to partner with the land and the keepers of the Western Door. The weekly lighting of our chalice is a reaffirmation of our covenant with this faith and those whose lives have brought us to this place, as well as all those who will carry our light forward, making it our own and letting it shine. Today, we offer chalice lighting words that invite us out of rote repetitions and into the experience of new words and ideas, new promises and affirmations of what it means to gather as a people of faith. Please join me as we explore new territory with these words. May we light this chalice, give light and warmth to our community when we are joyful and when we despair. And may we feel the warmth spread from our circle to wider and wider circles until all know they belong to the one circle of life.
It is our custom when we gather to acknowledge that we bring so much with us. We bring maybe disappointments, maybe overwhelm, maybe great joy. There is so much that we carry, and I'm going to guess that most of us have a Trivial Pursuit pie of multiple colors because we're carrying a little bit of everything. And this space, this community, is a place where you can bring all of that and know that it will be gently held, that you will be gently held. The way we ritualize this, make it concrete instead of just talking about it, is by placing a stone or a shell on a table labyrinth. We have two. We have a large one up front, and we have a small one in the back next to the candles. And I invite you to just bring all of that unspoken energy, put it in a stone, and just place it here. And trust yourself with us. So as the music plays, I invite you to come forward. For those of you using the one up front, just remember that we have a camera there that invites our online people to also participate. And so just be mindful about where you put your body when you are up there. Okay, please come forward as you will. Let's take in a shared breath to bring ourselves back into our bodies a bit. Holding on to all that knits you together. All that you, if you use the word, might call holy. Of course, holy comes from wholeness. And that is a thing that we invite one another into a journey of wholeness. And part of that journey is acknowledging that there is a larger community, even beyond our online community, ripples and ripples of community. And that we bring with us those that we carry in our hearts. So I invite you to, on purpose, just acknowledge those that you are carrying with you today. We hold those who are lonely, those who are ill in body or spirit, those who are regaining health and wholeness. Those in our country and across the world that are experiencing things that are hard for us to even imagine. How do we hold all of that without falling into despair? One of the answers is by being in community, by holding that together. Sing with me, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots only close, waves set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Oh dear, it's time for the Wonder Box. I wonder if any children would like to join me up front in case they want to know what's in the Wonder Box today. Or should I say, who is in the Wonder Box today? Come on, y'all. Okay, right there. You gonna have a seat, Cease? Go ahead. So many decisions. All righty. I have some friends in the Wonder Box, and they have some important things to tell us. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, never mind. No, okay, all right. So I wonder which of my friends will come out first. I have two friends in here. I have two hands. How lucky am I to have personal space? That's what we're going to be talking about. You got that, girlfriend. Okay. So I have two friends with me today. I have my friend's name is Bee Bunny. Hello, Bee Bunny. Hello. Could you please say hello to our friends out there? Hello, friends. I'm so glad to see you. I have some things to say, so you go ahead and sit down, and then you can play with me later, okay? Perfect. And I'd like to introduce to you my friend, Jeffrey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm a porcupine.
Wow, you sound more like a donkey, I know.
I know. I have some of the same issues.
Wow, okay, so we'll talk about that later, friend, right? Okay, so I have something I want to share with you. Something that's really, really hard. Jeffrey, are you listening?
Of course I'm listening. I'm always listening to you. You have a lot to say.
So, I'm really cute. And everybody wants to touch me. And they never ask. They just think that a fluffy bunny wants to be petted, wants to be held. And sometimes I just don't want that.
Wow. I would hug you, but you wouldn't like that very much.
I know, Jeffrey. I think that's why we're such good friends. Because you understand that we have to be really careful with each other. And you always ask if it's okay to boop noses with me.
I know. I like to boop noses with you. You're my friend. And sometimes I want to boop noses, but you don't want to boop noses with me. And then I feel a little bad.
But you don't have to feel bad about that. What if, I know, what if we had invisible circles around us? Like where we would just be all safe and sound, and then we could give consent if people wanted to pet me, not you really, but if they wanted to get close enough to you to think about petting you. So I know, let's put on our invisible bubbles, okay? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Do you feel it?
I feel it.
Okay, let's see what happens. Hey, that was a cool invisible bubble of space. Now, well, let's do it again, okay? Because that was super fun. Okay, ready? So this is our agreement, right? That sometimes we just are close, but we're not super close. And we always ask permission, right?
Yes, we always ask permission. You may boop my nose.
Doop. Oh, I love my friends. Would you like to take them back with you to Faith Development? Yeah, okay. I knew I could count on Sienna. So, Sienna, do you want to take Jeffrey or Bee Bunny? The Bee Bunny, okay. You want to take Jeffrey? Well, this one's already spoken for. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sisters, it's a thing, right? Oh, I'm an only child. I don't understand this whole dynamic. So with those good lessons from my friends in our minds and in our hearts about always asking permission, let's sing our kids out. Go in love, our hearts go with you. Go in joy, our hopes go too. Learn in love and grow in wisdom. Shine your light in all you do.
Gosh, how I love seeing the shorter people here and how much joy they get from one another and how happy they are to see one another. If you watch them come in, they run to each other and then just stand there and stare at each other and breathe. Today I have a reading written by Ayomide Sotubo. Mide, as she is known as an international spoken word poet and an aspiring barrister who lives in London. Mide shares her poetry, which is inspired by her own experiences and that of others. Many of us don't have to think about being free, we just are. But this isn't the truth that everyone knows. There is a truth outside these walls that we surround ourselves in to hide away from the reality that there are people still in slavery, that millions exist like you, like me, who simply long to be free. The desire for freedom has many faces. It is the face of a girl trafficked and sold into sexual slavery in Italy. She has unwillingly had more men know her than her age, and there is a rage that wells in her heart every time she realizes that she is a pawn in the game of cheap labor, sex, and goods, and she doesn't get to keep the check. It is the face of a young man in forced labor moving brick after brick in India because he was sold lies of a better tomorrow when all he wanted was to feed his wife and kids. It is the little boys fishing in a Lake Volta in Ghana for 17 hours a day with no safety gear or equipment, and one by one they swap places with the fish. The fish, they come up, and the boys, they go down, they drown. It is the woman trafficked from Nigeria to London, promised education, but instead lives each day sharing under the roof of her aunt, slaving under the roof of her aunt. This is the reality of 40 million people, and each one that makes that number is one person. Like you, like me, all they want is freedom, all in all. All everyone wants is to be free in one way or another, the face of freedom. From pain, from struggling, from fear. My freedom looks different from yours, and yours is different from the next person, and theirs is different from ours. It is this longing for freedom that makes us do things we otherwise would not, because freedom is a defining point in life. That moment when you are in control of your next step, when you can look over your shoulder and smile instead of being afraid of what blow might come next. Instead, some suffer in silence. But it is hard to stomach a blow and give birth to the smile at the same time. It's hard to live your best life tied to the strings of misfortune, a puppet to the system that we have built, when your cards just don't add up, so sometimes you fold. When you've had enough, when freedom seems unattainable. Apparently, slavery was done and over, but we still love sex, control, cheap labor, more than we love our brothers and sisters. We love it too much to squash it, so instead we amplified it, spread it across the globe, and made a fortune out of it. Human trafficking is soon to pass drug trafficking. We've made a pandemic of it. But we have a duty to fight for and set free every single being in captivity. We can't live life quiet by choice when there are millions whose voices are unheard. Those who are free fight for those in chains, for we are one and the same at the root of it all, humans, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, people who just long to be free. The words of Mide Sotubo. Today we will learn from our speaker, Ms. Julie Palmer, who is the Executive Director of PATH, People Against Trafficking of Humans, about trafficking in Western New York, very close to us. This whole poem was about trafficking in other places around the world, which makes it easy sometimes to distance ourselves from what is happening right in our very own communities. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Julie Palmer to the pulpit, and thank you, Julie, for being here.
Good morning. You hear me okay? Because I can have a mom voice. Well, I first want to just start off to talk about who I am. Besides being an executive director of an organization, I am a wife to my husband of 25 years. He's actually a teacher in Amherst, so in this community. And I have 4 children. So this is also something that I feel like as a mother, it is impacting our youth. And so with that, I have a 19-year-old, 2 in high school, and 1 going into 5th grade. So if you pray, you should pray for me, because when you have children and they're little, you think, oh yeah, we'll have 4 kids, and now they're this age, and you're like, whoa, what was I thinking? But they are amazing. We're very blessed, and actually, our oldest and youngest are adopted. Our oldest, we both got them at birth. Our oldest is actually biracial, and then our little guy's Hispanic, so we have a very blended family. We do walk into places, and sometimes people wonder if our oldest is a friend or not, because he's 6'3", very handsome guy. And so we're very fortunate to be able to have lived out our lives in a way where we're able to, serve our family in this way. I do like to share that my story, and Sally had actually asked me to kind of share a little bit about why I do what I do. So in that, part of my story is that it's some of my Christian values that brought me into it. So it is part of my story I'm going to share today. I know that you all have a different place of reference you come from, so it's just my place of reference, so that might be weaved into this. But what I do like to share that I feel like is really important, and we've learned a lot since I've been with PATH for 13 years, is just that one thing I like to make sure people understand is that we value the fact that everyone that walks through our door matters. And I know sometimes people have impressions of different views of faith, but one thing that matters to us is that we believe Jesus cares for everybody that walks through our door. So there is no discriminatory behavior. There is nobody that's not welcome in our space. In fact, it's pretty diverse, the people that we serve. And so I just always like to share that, because I know that unfortunately maybe Christians have sometimes done things in a way that have been harmful. And so that's just not the values that we hold at PATH. My background also is that I have mental health counseling background, and so I did behavioral mental health. I also have a creative arts therapy and music therapy, and did that the first half of my career. And so in that, I'm just going to take a minute before I start, if it's okay with you, just to pray, just so that I honor God in what I'm speaking today. So, Father, I just ask that you would lead my words, that you would open our hearts to whatever it is that you want to do in each person's life, and that it draws us to who you are in Jesus' name. So when I speak today, it's not just about human trafficking, but a little bit about a call to action in our lives. Because one thing I have come to learn is I'm not the only person that needs to be out there for this cause. And so it's not just myself, but we have about 50 people, whether on staff or volunteering, that are a part of the work that we do. And they kind of all come from a variety of different backgrounds. And so really it's how to be a light in darkness. And I feel like Sally did a beautiful job through that reading of kind of summing up what human trafficking is, so thank you for doing that. And really giving a depiction of how it's affecting the world. And so we can bring hope. It sounds evil, right? So there's a part of us that doesn't really want to engage in it because of that. But we can be hope in that. And there's a psalm that says, the Lord works righteous and justice for all the oppressed. And I believe that while we don't necessarily have to step out and accomplish that, I think that the purpose of us being here as people is to do that. So maybe you're wondering, does this really happen in Western New York? Maybe you're thinking, well, that depiction that was just read felt very global. So let me just speak with examples. At our enrichment center that we have in Buffalo, we've served over 1,200 people. This is our 10th year of providing services, and I'll speak to that later. But just imagine for a minute a 12-year-old girl. She's been bounced around the foster care system since she was 8. She had no stability, no healthy people to care for her. She was detained downstate simply because truly the system didn't know what else to do for her. She wanted to get back to her mother in Buffalo, who wasn't really able to mother her very well, but she still was intending to get back here, left the facility. She was desperate to get back and was coerced into exchanging sex for food, money, and transportation. When she came to our enrichment center and I first encountered her, she had bruises on her body, choke marks on her neck, and really just looked despondent. When we gave her this gift. It was kind of a purse bag that had a new outfit, a necklace, and a note that said, "You are loved, you are beautiful, and you are valued." I still won't forget this because this was several years ago. She looked up at me and said, "Miss, no one has ever said that to me before." Now again, I'm a mother, so this could be my child. At Path, she got more than just resources, but she rediscovered her value and worth and her dignity. This is some of the reality of modern-day slavery in our community. And honestly, sometimes I don't want to do this job anymore because I just don't want to keep hearing it. And my kids don't really love it because if you want to know what strict rules are about a phone, we can have a conversation after this meeting. And they get really upset when we speak in their school. But things that where people just bring tears to my eyes still to this day. Watching a client walk through our building that could barely move because she was so badly assaulted. A woman whose jaw was broken and had to have surgery to repair it. Another client who sat in the office with me and shared with me how she was stabbed and left in a hotel room to die, except that housekeeping found her. A teen that we served that was taken to a house in a local community to do acts with men while someone stood outside the door with a weapon. That could be one of our children or family members. And human trafficking defined as the recruiting, harboring, or transporting a person solely for the purpose of commercial sex or forced labor. So what does that mean? Recruiting happens in a myriad of ways. People can be recruited because of their vulnerabilities, their desperation, their needs, food, housing, shelter. It could be internet recruitment, which we're seeing a lot of. It can be vulnerability, it could be manipulation. It could be harboring, doesn't have to be kidnapping. That's kind of how the films depict it, but most of our clients are freely moving, they just don't have freedom of choice. And so it can be that they're just going to different sites to be trafficked, transported to different locations. It doesn't have to cross state or international lines. It can just be from community to community. And there's force, fraud, or coercion that have to make it a crime in the eyes of the law. So force, the violence I described, or even the threat of violence. We had a teen tell us that they threatened her 3 younger siblings, and that's why she continued to do what they asked her to do. We've had fraud where clients are told, hey, you got this job. We're having multiple situations where we're getting called by law enforcement, where there's operations going on, where recruitment of individuals that are foreign-born are being brought to this region from downstate to do different work and only to end up being sex trafficked. Coercion, it's manipulation of circumstances. Maybe somebody's struggling through addiction and they help them, then say, I'll give you this if you do that. It's grossing $150 billion per year, which is adding together the NFL, Google, Nike, putting all of their revenues together annually. That's what people are making selling persons. And she mentioned the 40 millions, 27 to 40 million people around the globe, and it's happening here in your community. And we had a case in Amherst. And one of the things we do at our organization is we educate, because we feel like that's part of prevention. We have educated hundreds of thousands of people through multiple means. We've been in school districts, we've been on media, we've been on radio, we've been in other human service agencies, we've been in church communities. Wherever we get invited, we speak, because the more you know, the more likely you might see something, the more we can intervene. And so that's really important. And one time we had spoken to a group, a woman had heard it, she noticed years later something unusual in her community, that in a neighborhood in Amherst, that there kept being cars coming in and out, and 2 women that looked foreign-born that never seemed able to leave. eventually called us and said, I feel like there's something wrong. They also called the local police department because we're on a task force. We were able to engage more educated law enforcement that do this work specifically in a task force. After several months of investigation, they did go in and discover that there were 4 women who were being sex trafficked out of that home. Not only that, there was 2 other homes in Western New York, they were doing the same thing. All because one neighbor saw something that didn't look right and made a call. So you are part of that prevention. And how often do we worry about our next meal, where we sleep, or whether anyone even cares if we exist? And that's some of the things people we serve have said to us. One woman in her 40s said, I never knew how to love or receive love until I came to PATH. I thought, wow, in your 40s? I mean, I have one more year being in my 40s, and I'm going to just embrace that. But this is why PATH exists. How do you get to be that age and never have given or received love? And I think that's why we're to get engaged in this. So God's call for me specifically in getting involved in PATH began in the fall of 2011. So I had been doing my other work in other organizations. I took a little time off when I had my 3rd daughter. She had a cleft palate. She is now 15. You'd have no idea looking at her. She's a beautiful girl. But I did have 2 toddlers and this baby that needed a lot of work feeding. And one day my husband looked at me and said, I think you should probably just resign and take some time at home. Your quality of life is not good. Meaning you're crazy. You should stay home for a little bit and figure this out. But he's a lovely guy, and he wouldn't say it that way. So I took some time off. I also personally had a tumor on the side of my neck that I had to have removed because there was a potential it was cancer. Thankfully, it was not. So that was kind of a transition 18 months for me. Kind of went through this 18 months and went through these things and thought, what am I doing with my future? And meanwhile, I had all these children, but I'm not a person that sits still very well. Anyone who knows me, I probably do way more than what should be done in a normal human. But I found myself sitting at a church equipping weekend where they were kind of just talking about different presenters addressing human trafficking. I'm going to be honest with you. I sat there and thought, I have a master's degree from UB, I've done behavioral mental health, and I have never heard anyone bring this up. And it just struck me, listening, like, what in the world is going on? And then as these stories more spoke about the issue and things happening around us, I was really impacted by that. And so I drove home that day, and I still remember it. I was very overwhelmed with grief, like actually was crying. And I was like, what is this? And I just felt this word in my mind from God that said, this is how I feel when my children are treated this way. And then I kind of kept lamenting a little bit and praying a little bit, and I felt like God said, you need to do something about this, Julie, address this issue, and be open to opportunity. So, to be really honest with you, I out loud said, no, thank you. I don't know how many people talk back to God if you have that relationship with him, but I am bold enough to do that. And I kind of had a lot of justification in my head of like, I'm a mom, this sounds so depressing, it's evil, I don't know what I would do about it, how would I even help? And it just was be open to opportunity. I thought, okay, then I don't have to do anything. Like the neon sign is gonna come flashing someday. So I ended up going to this awareness event. As a result of this equipping weekend, we filled out these little cards, and this woman who had started PATH as a coalition invited me. And I thought, I'm curious, I'll show up. Well, she decided to announce at that meeting that she no longer could lead it any further because of her full-time work in ministry, and did anyone feel led to get involved? I still remember sitting in the back of the room thinking in my head, is this the opportunity that I'm supposed to move forward in? So I had a decision to make to either get engaged or not get engaged, and determine whether or not the passion that was welling up within me was something that God was leading me to do and take action. And I will just say that if you have a strong passion or a heaviness or leading to something, don't ignore it. Because I often feel like that's how we're mobilized by God to respond to the needs around us. So for me, what really spoke to me was Moses. And for anyone who maybe has paid attention to Moses' story, he was asked to set captives free. right? Like his whole story was about speaking to people, leading them to the promised land. And I just thought this was really interesting that this is what he said in the book of Exodus. "O Lord, I've never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you've spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." So the Lord says to him, well, who gave you your mouth and who made you deaf and mute? Who gives you sight to the blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Go, and I will give you the speech and teach you what to say. So what really struck me that was, I have a sense of humor, so part of me was like, okay, God's kind of saying, duh, like, I created you, so I already know you have these impediments, but I'm still asking you to do it anyway, because I'll give you what you need. But what I thought even more fascinating is Moses' response, "Please send someone else to do it." That's a quote in the Bible, by the way. I didn't even exaggerate that. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? And I thought, so how many times, it made me think not just about path, but in my life, how many times was maybe I feeling prompted to do something, and I felt like, no, I can't do it, and told God, send somebody else. And I wonder what opportunities I missed out on. My husband says this to me a lot when I have the days where I say I don't think I can do this anymore. He'll remind me, but think of what wouldn't have happened if you hadn't done it. And think of all the things that are happening now. And then he'll also say, did God tell you to stop? Which I punch him in the arm when he says that. But I thought the next part of this was very interesting, that even after God offers to equip him, he still asks God to have somebody else do it. And the scripture says God burned with anger. I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want him burning with anger at me. But what I thought was really interesting is that God said, fine, I'll have your brother do it. And it just really made me think. He wants us to do things. If you have something impressed upon you, he picked you, but if you say no, he'll find somebody else. And that just really struck me. And so I realized that none of my excuses that day in the car where I was kind of saying no thank you to God were really justified, because honestly, it wasn't going to have anything to do with me. It was going to have to do with whether I was going to get the equipping and that he would provide what I needed and I'd have the strength and knowledge to have an impact. And in Joshua's story, he was told to be strong and courageous and step into the water before God was going to part it. And I just feel like this is really interesting. Of just be strong and courageous because you'll lead the people to inherit the land. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? That also struck me as very interesting, that it was a command. How many of us pick strength and courageousness because we think maybe we should, versus this is the way we're being asked to live our lives so that we can handle the things that are happening around us? And sometimes we walk down a journey and the opportunity may not open up and the barriers might not move until we step in it. And that's kind of how I've experienced this work at Path. I'll be honest with you, I'm a planner. I like to predict, probably a little controlling, like to know what's going to happen. That is not how this journey goes. Every step of the way is kind of trusting opportunity and then having things open up and having people give and having generosity. But it is not an easy journey to walk. And I will share with you that when we do walk, though, God always has victory over evil. And so the past few years, I will share that my family's gone through some really challenging, harmful, hurtful hardships. And I really struggled through those emotions and questioning whether I really wanted to continue serving and doing ministry. And one theme that came about a 6-week period that I struggled through was that I felt like God's answer was, I did not stop asking you to do good while you suffered. And that was like, whoa, okay. But it was trusting and believing that I had the strength and courage to do the work in the suffering. And sometimes that changes the way we ask for help. Sometimes we say, please take away our problem. And instead I've started praying and asking, give me what I need in the circumstance to do what I'm asked to do. And so as we go through trials, and in serving in this work, I wonder, am I failing everybody? Right? Am I not giving enough to my husband, my kids, to Path? that I make mistakes, I don't always lead well, but for whatever reason, God will still use us anyway. That we sometimes maybe evaluate ourselves in our readiness or capacity, but I'll be honest with you, there's nobody that's serving at Path that has perfected their life here on earth. It's just people who genuinely care to step forward and have an impact. And so I would just encourage you, because even after 13 years of doing this and seeing amazing things happen, I still complain, get discouraged, second guess, doubt myself. But that's when I know when things happen in spite of me, it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with what God has asked. And so you may have different things in your heart and mind that maybe you're feeling led to do. And I just really, really want to encourage you. Just amazing things I watch, the people that come in, the gifts I see people have, how that comes out in the work as they start engaging with the people we serve. There are so many different ways that people can be used to have an impact. And we can do it in our shortfalls. None of us are going to perfect. At least I don't believe any of us are going to be perfect while we're on earth. We're all going to have things, but it doesn't mean we can't still do good. And so don't let that limit you. So I just want to end with sharing a little bit specifically about Path. So we are a 501c3, which is a not-for-profit. We're a human service provider. Our mission is ending human trafficking through education, prevention, and restoration. So I talked about the education side and the prevention piece. We serve individuals who might be victims of other crimes, not just human trafficking. And then we do serve individuals that are victims of sex and labor trafficking. We do have a higher percentage of females in sex trafficking, but we are starting to see more on the labor side, and we're also hoping to pilot a male program this year. We just got funding from the state to do that, so we're really excited about that because I think it's an underserved population. And then we do have individuals that come from all walks of life and different circumstances, and our goal is to address them in a holistic way. And we provide survivor support services at our agency and enrichment center in Buffalo. We're in Delaware and Utica, block south from Canisius. And so some of the things that we offer are social work support, a lot of case management. So a lot of the people we serve come to us with a lot of lack of resourcing. So we do a lot of work connecting people. We do individual crisis safety planning, counseling support services. We do have art and music therapy. And I will say the clients actually get really mad at us if our art therapist takes a day off. It is one of the favorites. We have fitness. We actually have somebody right now who's a black belt who's doing self-defense with the clients, which has been really cool. We have a trauma therapist. One of my youth social workers got trained in child exploitation prevention, so she runs these 5-week curriculums as well as all the other things she does. We have Well Health, which is free health care by licensed practitioners on a weekly basis. We do spiritual care support. We have tutors. We run a work readiness program in partnership with another organization that's 12 weeks. We do it about 2 or 3 times a year. We have transportation services. We give out hot meals every day. We have clothing closet hygiene items. We serve adults, youth 12 to 18, and then we have a child and family program for birth to 11, so that if somebody comes in and has a young child, we help care for that child and provide interventions so that the guardian can get their support services. As I mentioned, we've served over 1,200 individuals. We give away about 90 to 100 meals a week. All of those meals, 5,000 a year, are completely donated by the community. We have a very small budget for that. It's all donated by the community. So if you say, I don't have time to volunteer, or maybe I don't feel I can give financially, we have people that sign up once a month and bring a meal once a month. What it is you bring 20 meat dishes, enough for 10 vegetarian, and then we package it all up and give it out to our clients that night. And it's a great, and I will just tell you, I've learned so much about food access issues. Many of the people we serve will tell us that this is the only meal they have for the day. So that's an important part of what we do. Our building that we're in is an interesting story. and this is our contact information. So we had a donor that heard me on a radio show and contacted me, and this was in 2019, and said, I just want to come check out what you do. So we were at a prior location a block away, kind of renting a suite. And he said, I really like what you do. He wrote us a 5-figure check and then called me about 2 weeks later and said, can we have breakfast? I thought, well, you just wrote me a 5-figure check. Of course, I'll have breakfast with you. Didn't say that, but I thought it in my head. So we had breakfast, and he just started telling his story of philanthropy and his family foundation. And he said, every year we like to buy a building for a nonprofit doing ministry work, and God told me to buy you a building. And that is his quote. And I literally sat there, and I'm usually pretty good about putting on a poker face and doing diplomacy, because a lot of my job is bureaucracy. I think I looked shocked, because I thought, what? So that year, I knew of the building we're currently in was for sale because it was the mental health advocates moving to Broadway in a building where Jericho Road is. And so I called up Ken and said, Ken, did you sell your building yet? He said, no, it fell through. Why? I said, because we're coming over. I have a philanthropist that might buy us this building. He said, great, come on down. So we went. I shared it. He said, do you like it? I said, I love it. He put in an offer. They accepted it, and it was supposed to close in 2019. As anything with build-outs, their Jericho Road location wasn't done yet, so they asked to extend it, which we did. And then we had COVID come. April 1st of 2020, the donor calls me and says, Julie, the building closed. It is now yours. Now, meanwhile, if you remember, April 1st of 2020, we were 2 weeks in a shutdown where no one was going anywhere, doing nothing. And I thought, well, this is funny. I just got a 6,000 square foot building I cannot use. However, this is always when God knows better than me. It allowed us to take time to renovate the building, because it was a bit 1980s. I am really big on environment and space and how that feels. There's a warmth and a welcoming. So we were able to renovate it. We created like a living room space in the building. And so we had time to do that. And as things opened up, it allowed us to meet the space requirements that were needed because it doubled our square footage. And if we hadn't moved in there, we would have had to drop our capacity in half. So the timing, while in my little mind thought this is crazy, in a bigger mind was exactly what we needed. Now, 5 years later, we have already outgrown that space. We have staff that don't have offices now. We're using every square inch, which is an amazing problem to have, but we are now looking for locations to do other work. This same donor approached me. We had been looking to do residential programs for about 6 years. It's been a real challenge. We've looked at multiple properties. Communities would tell us they don't want us there. We'd be outbid. Well, recently, last year, this year, there was a location that was found in a community of a 6,000 square foot house on 10 acres. This donor was actually willing to purchase it at $1.5 million, put in an offer. The seller agreed. However, we are still waiting after 6 months to get approval from the town it's in. We're not giving up hope, and we have one more meeting with them to see what's going to happen. But we have a potential of being able to offer residence, which has kind of been a dream of mine for a really long time. So we started off, when I started PATH, we were in a 500 square foot room in a church on the east side of Buffalo. It was me and one person 12 hours a week. 10 years later, we now have 12 paid positions and 40 active volunteers for our daily operations. We are celebrating our 10-year anniversary, which for me is crazy to think how fast that went. My youngest is 10, so he says, my birthday is past birthday, which is very sweet. So first and foremost, if you ever feel like you need to contact us, before I share more about how getting involved, it's important as a community member that you know you're part of the solution. Like I said, that person in Amherst who saw something and called. And like I said, we're on a task force with law enforcement and people that are trained specifically in this issue. So you can just call us. If you don't want to call your local, law enforcement, if you don't know what to do, we've connected people with situations. You can call anonymously. We don't have to give them your name. They'll do a lot of tips. That's first. Second is, if you feel like someone around you or yourself is in a situation you're being pursued or you feel endangered, please call this number. This is a call and text line. It's on, somebody on staff has it all the time, evenings, weekends, after hours. Please use it. That's what it's there for. Please share it. Please spread the word. And while I'm not a fan of social media because of all the ways that exploiters use it, PATH uses it for good. So I do ask, if you are on social media, that you go on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn and connect and follow with us, because you'll learn information, statistics, events, things going on, and how to get involved. And then finally, I do want to encourage you to join us for our 10-year celebration. So our celebration is on September 25th at Clocks Grove. It's going to be a really fun night. We are going to have a live auction, and there's already some really cool auction items. I might just leak that there could be some Bills tickets and paraphernalia for those strong Bills fans. We are in Western New York. But it'll be a really fun night. It'll be a sit-down dinner. You will hear from a local judge who does the human trafficking court, and then you will also hear from multiple survivors that we have served tell their story. And I will just tell you, I sat in the room with our videographer as we did this, and I was sobbing through it because, first of all, I had no idea the detail of their story. So most of my job when you do administrative work is fixing all the problems and dealing with the complaints. I don't get the opportunity that my team has to hear the stories and the impact. And so I was very touched by not only what they were experiencing in our own community, but then how much they felt PATH helped them. And I will say the one theme that stood out that really struck me is they all said they felt not judged and genuinely loved. And I don't know how much better we can serve as an organization than that. There's also ways to volunteer. Like I said, we have a lot of volunteerism. And so there's like the table as you walk out of the hall there. I put some information. You can take brochures, you can sign our listserv. And I will tell you with listservs, I'm a personality. If you email me too much, I stop reading them. So we only email when there's a need to. So you will not get bombarded. There's ways to get involved. There's a box to check if you are interested in volunteering. Again, there is no pressure. If you check the box, you're just gonna have a staff call and share ways to get involved. You can still say no. And then there's just the card with our event if you want to scan the QR code and look more at how to register for that. So I'm just going to end with one thing that struck me. Is someone came up to me very early on when I started and asked if I believed human trafficking would end in my lifetime. And I thought, well, that's a foolish question, right? Like, how is that going to end based on what you heard from Sally and how I've described? But then I thought the answer could be yes, because if every church person, if every person in the community that cared could get involved, I think we absolutely can have an impact. And so whatever you feel led or passionate to, I encourage you to respond and answer that and decide what you're willing to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Julie. It's a lot of information, and I encourage all of you, if the words that Julie spoke touched your heart, that you use this opportunity to learn more and to give freely. Today we are going to respond to this to this talk with a song, Building a New Way, number 1017. In the teal hymnal, the words will be printed on the screens on either side.
I think y'all need to stand up. All right. Let's bring it in. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
last time. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Please be seated. You deserve a good rest in this heat. Who's hot? I'm hot. It's now time for our offering. The offering is where we demonstrate our commitment to our own transformation and to the ministries of this church, as well as gratitude for the many blessings in our lives. Whether you give a little or a lot, give online or as the basket is passed, we're grateful for the many ways you share from your resources. In the back of most of the pews are envelopes. You can put donations for PATH, mark that envelope for PATH, or just put cash in the basket. This whole month, our organization that we're sponsoring, Pass the Basket and Share the Load, is PATH. So please give generously. You can also make donations in the back with envelopes that are there. If you're using a check today, please mark it in the memo portion. The offering will now be gratefully received. We began our service with the lighting of the chalice, and now we extinguish this chalice not to quench the flame, but to return it to individual hearts, strengthened by this time we've spent together, so that we can share our light in the world. Please join your voices with mine. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And as our service draws to an end, our service to the world is ready to begin. You'll find many opportunities for growth and service in your order of service and on our website. I just want to make a note that on the back of today's order of service, special announcement, you yourself can be a donor for a jet pig, which is our denominational stuffy, and we're going to be sharing those with families in September. So please feel free to purchase and donate money for a jet pig. All of you are invited to stay for coffee and conversation in the Emerson Room, just through the double doors at the back of the chapel and in the lobby, through the lobby. Parents, don't forget to pick up your kids from Faith Development. There's a family-friendly zone in the window, at the window zone at the end of the room in the Emerson Room. And now please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing blessing. Remember, twinkle your eyes and share smiles with one another through the third verse, and remain standing afterwards for the benediction. Please be seated for the benediction and remain through the postlude. Special thanks today for our family of musicians. Today, we've learned so much. We've opened our hearts to learning things that are difficult to hear. We've learned the story of a path of one person who's chosen to devote her life on behalf of people she didn't even know were in trouble. We've all have different paths to wander, different paths that call us from whatever voices we hear within our hearts, our brains, our spirits, the one we call holy. May we find ways to find joy in this path, that service is a blessing, that you are a blessing, that what you do matters. Go, spread the word of joy and hope in the world that represents what we believe as Unitarian Universalists, that love is at the center of all we do. Go in peace.